Hello, I am Aifel of Lorlin, and we are going to talk about Maestro. And this time we are going to talk about long notes and how Maestro handles them and how Lotto handles them. So, Lotto sounds of instruments is samples. So that means that, for example, you have a flute. Then, if you play the flute manually in game, you will be able to hold down the key and play a note that lasts several seconds, and then there's gonna be a decay, and the note is gonna end, and it's not gonna play again. So, what the maximum for Lotto notes ABC system to handle is 8 seconds, but that's far from how all instruments are. Many instruments have below 6.5 seconds of note time, and some instruments have different note lengths. So, for example, you take a horn, you might have a G that is 6.5 seconds and a G sharp that has 6 seconds. So how does Maestro handle all this? We are going to look at that. And I have loaded up a ABC song as source, and this ABC song has a really long note. So let's try and play it with a harp. And as you can hear, the harp runs out, and actually the song stops because Maestro knows that harp is not a sustained instrument. So it's not gonna bother to continue the note and make the ABC song longer than necessary. The alternative would be to start the harp again after a while, or maybe after long, as soon as the sample is done, but that of course doesn't make sense for a harp. So if we put a flute on it and play, did you hear that? After about 6.5, 7 seconds or something, it stopped playing the flute sound, and it started it immediately again. So some MIDI songs have very long notes, and it's actually somewhat common to have that in MIDI files. And so the way Maestro handles it is simply to have a limit of 6 seconds. So after 6 seconds, the note is gonna stop. It's gonna tell the ABC notation, okay, stop the note here, and start it immediately again on the same note, on the same instrument, and play it again for 6 seconds, and then do the same until the note is finished. Sometimes when the note is about to finish, if it's close to to a bar ending or a bar start, when the measure is over, it aligns it with the measure instead of the precise 6 seconds. And so the effect of this is that the Lotto sample will not be allowed to play fully out because most or the Lotto instruments have more than 6 seconds. But you probably ask why I just didn't measure each sample for each instrument and each note, and then play exactly the sample length and then start it again. Well, there's two reasons. For one, when the note ends in Lotto, I talked before about decay, and that's very fast. It's like 200 milliseconds or something to stop a note completely in Lotto. And when the note ends naturally, when the sample ends, it's not 200 milliseconds. It's a lot more. It's maybe I don't know, half a second or something. It takes to decay out the note. So it's not gonna sound so good to start it again after that. And the other reason is that that I have chosen the minimum is that often long notes are played simultaneously. So you have two long notes, for example, in a chord that ends a song. That's typically often a place where they use long notes. And if you have two notes that stop at different times because the samples is different in Lotto, that would not sound so good. Then better to stop them at the same time and have these breaks where it starts this note again at the same time, so it that sounds more natural. Um, so be aware of this when you make songs, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And if you don't like it, give me a comment in the video section on YouTube. And yeah, that's just how Maestro works. I think I'll mention that Digos works a little bit different, sort of the same principle, but it has longer than 6 seconds. I think maybe it's 7.5 he uses, and that leaves a gap. That means that when you play a long note like this, instead of it starts immediately, it actually runs out, and then there's silence, and then the note starts again and continues. And it does that until the note is finished. And I thought it was better to have it lower, to lower it down to 6 seconds, so that those notes that are really short, those samples that are really short, will be broken up, so that it starts immediately again instead of you having that gap. So another thing about long notes is that there is one instrument that is actually capable of doing long notes, and that is the bagpipe. The bagpipe has has 3 octaves plus one note as the other instruments, but it has something special with the lowest notes in the range, namely that they can be they are called drone notes, and they can be continued. And the reason it's made like that by Standing Stone Games is that bagpipes in reality have a drone tone that plays all the time, and that tone is what it mimics here, so you can make actual nice sounding bagpipe songs inside Lotto. And Maestro knows about this, and will when you have a long note that is one of the you put on one of the bagpipe drone notes, then it knows that Lotto will accept this, and then it will just continue the tone, and it will sound uninterrupted until it finishes. And this is also the reason for the bagpipe bug that people experience in Lotto sometimes, where you continue to hear the note. The bug probably exists for all instruments, but you don't notice it for the other instruments. It's always the bagpipe drone notes that causes that bug, and that note doesn't stop, so that it just continues. While if you have the bug on one of the other instrument notes or another bagpipe note that is not a drone note, then it will stop, so it will stop sounding. So let's try making one of those. I'll just take the lowest note because I know that's a bagpipe drone note. Okay, that doesn't sound super in Maestro, but it sounds better in Lotto, where it really sounds uninterrupted. You did hear a little tick there when it restarted the note. But I can tell you for information that the reason this work in Lotto is because those drone notes, they have no attack and they have no decay. So they can just be put after each other and play as one continuous loop. Okay, that's enough for this video. See you.